interesting idea to pursue. I mean, so if I'm having my tea, am I, is it helping me? Is it helping me physically or is it helping me spiritually? I don't know. I do actually apologize if I'm throwing out part of my teapot because I feel bad. Because I've used the herbs and I actually try to brew them twice. So I try to not be wasteful and to acknowledge what they're giving us. And what's interesting, I did read about plants. We think about plants as being weak, but they're sitting there, right? They can't move. So if something comes along, some disease or something, they have to adapt or die. So they're actually really good at adapting. They actually can create I think this was in Eliot's book. They can adapt to the point that they create some kind of way to deal with whatever threat is coming. Is that incredible? Mm-hmm. And I think he gave an example where they put some kind of food that they can't normally eat with plant cells, like it was like maybe a meat with plant cells, and they adapted to the point where they could eat this food that they don't normally eat. It's like, whoa. So it's so interesting. They don't just have one beneficial quality. They have then they have this like 10 to 20 or maybe more beneficial qualities. And I heard Plantain. There was a biochemist, and my teacher, the head of my school, asked him, so how many plant medicinal qualities are in plantain? It was plantain again. I love plantain. Sorry. And they always try in big pharma to isolate it. But what I learned in herb school is you really want the whole package. Why isolate it? Because it's worth so much more as a group. And this biochemist, she asked, well, how many healing qualities are there? How many healing constituents, like how many chemical things are good in there for healing? And he said 4,000 to 5,000 in plantain, in one plant. And we're always, I don't know if you know this, they take part of it, it's called allantoin. And you'll see it in lotions and things for healing. You'll see it, and that's where it comes from. It's from plantain.
Have you considered taking things like ayahuasca or?
I don't think ayahuasca would be my cup of tea. I don't look forward to vomiting, but I might explore tobacco. Maybe you could just meditate it with it too. I think you talked about you had an experience with ayahuasca. I think it's called the death plant. Is that right?
No, ayahuasca means vine of the soul.
What of the soul?
Vine
of
the soul.
I think in this, maybe someone else told me. I thought Eliot took that herb, and I think he saw like every lifetime he had died, and he saw his body rotting in every scenario over and over again. Like, I mean, think about if you had reincarnation, how many lifetimes you would go through, and so, but the shaman said, hang in there, we're pulling the death out of you. Which is interesting. If you actually have gone through so many, maybe we do. And I actually think that's what night terrors might be with toddlers, because they cannot see you at all if they're scared around 2 or 3 and they wake up screaming. So, but did you end up taking ayahuasca, Richard?
Yeah, I've done it twice, and the concern about vomiting, a lot of people have that. But, like when you go in, people say, I really don't like this.
Yeah.
But after you've done it, it turns out to be such a trivial aspect of the overall experience that, okay, it's not a problem anymore. If you want to, you can have these conceptual ideas about plant spirits, but with something like ayahuasca, you meet that plant spirit face to face, just like I'm talking to you, except it's more real than you are.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Oh, interesting. And what do you want to share what it said to you, or how did it help you, or?
The long-term effect that I got from it was, before I took it, plants were plants, so, okay, there's a plant, there's a tree, and I wasn't really interested in plants. I'm sort of the hard science, physics, chemistry, that sort of interest, and biology just never interested me. But after I took it, now I can walk out, I can feel the plants and say, oh, hi, hello there, how you doing today? So it's a totally different perspective. And it's like, if you go to a dentist with a toothache, you don't enjoy going to the dentist for the toothache. But after you've done it, you're really glad you did. And ayahuasca is sort of the same thing. You sort of, do I want to go through this? But after you've done it, say, yes, I'm glad I did that. It's one of those types of things.
What was your intention the first time you did it?
I did it just because I'm a explorer of consciousness, and I wanted to see what it was about.
And is there a reason you've only done it twice?
Yes. One of the things that popped up that I ignored was Mother Ayahuasca says, don't do this again.
Oh.
But I was so overwhelmed with the rest of the experience, I just sort of, okay, I'll worry about that later. And I just completely forgot about it. But I had a past life experience. And then the second time I did it, Mother Ayahuasca came to me, I told you not to do this again.
Wow. Is that a typical response?
No. There's something about it talking to me and saying, well, I tried mushrooms for the first time after those two. And they says, okay, well, ayahuasca says, no, I wonder what mushrooms.
What about mushrooms?
And so I tried mushrooms, and I had the same physiological response. I was just laid out on the floor, unable to move, and a different voice, very gentle, says, this is not your path.
Interesting.
That, okay, three times I've gotten the message, this is not your path. So now I believe it.
Okay.
An interesting part of the mushroom part was it comes in and very gently says, this is not your path. And then it shows me the Monroe stuff and says, this is okay. You can go this way, but don't do this.
Interesting.
So I had sort of another realm, how do you say, recommendation to go, Monroe's okay, do that.
Oh, is that why you started? How
No,
interesting.
I was already.
Okay.
That's all I've done. I got the message 3 times is enough. Okay. But I learned a lot. It's got some interesting. I learned the past life stuff.
Oh, wow.
I got that connection to plants.
Nice.
And I sort of met this alien entity, intelligent species.
Nice.
So that was quite a fascinating experience.
There was our herb school teacher talked about walking through the woods, and she kind of saw a plant down there, and it was in the sun. It looked like almost like, hey, over here, She sort of, that was her impression of it. And she finally asked someone what it was, and like they talked over and over about meeting the plant, meeting it, like talking about like a person, that you. So I thought that was really interesting, and I have sort of had that experience where I already liked gardening, but don't you feel like sometimes you're like, wow, it's almost something's flowering. It's like, whoa, it's just incredible. Something's amazing. It sort of calls you over. So.
Have you read the Castaneda books?
I don't think so. I think that was another book that was recommended to me. I read one by he called himself a shaman. I think it's Villanovo or something.
Yeah.
Is that
No. Villanovo is a modern guy, but Carlos Castaneda wrote a series of books that's somewhat fictionalized because he would go to numerous different shamans and tribes and so on, and he took all the information that he learned from the various sources and combined it into this is what Don Juan told me, when actually it was from many different sources, but the idea of it was interesting. And since you were an anthropology major,
I was for a while, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so
I didn't graduate.
that's what Carlos Castaneda was doing. This as his anthropology thesis, and where he went to Mexico to study under the shaman to see what that was like, and he wrote a mini series of books based upon his research. But it talks all about this plant, talking to the plants, getting the information from the plants, meeting the spirits.
Wow.
And the problem that Castaneda, who had the Western mindset, was that he kept asking these Western-oriented questions to the shaman. He said, "No, you can't ask that. Do it. Go out, participate with, become my apprentice, and then you'll understand." So the books are him becoming the apprentice and learning shamanism firsthand.
Huh, I'll have to get them.
I've got the ebooks in my library if you want.
Okay, I have your link actually, so thanks.
Yeah.
I'll check it out. Yeah, there's a lot to learn, I feel like. Don't you feel like?
Yeah.